Hello wrestling fans, the Wrestling Wizard here and welcome to another video, and in this video we're going to discuss the possibility of things coming full circle and the Fiend returning at Wrestlemania 39. Now before we get into the juicy stuff, as always it's very much appreciated if you could like the video, share the video, and even better subscribe if you're new. So let's get to it. Now we're going to start off by throwing things back all the way to the White Rabbit Trail in the lead up to the Bray Wyatt return. And even then, there were some Fiend teasers. Because think about it logically, every single time the lyric hit, remember what the Dormouse said, feed your head, red lighting appeared. We know how synonymous red lighting is with the Fiend alter ego. The very fact that there were Samson and Delilah references speaks volumes because we know how connected Bray Wyatt and Alexa Bliss are. They were connected via the Fiend. Alexa Bliss sent the Fiend away at WrestleMania 37. Also the very fact that there was a segment with the three pigs. Let me in, let me in, let me in. I mean, do we need to say any more? And so I think there are a lot of hints back then. And even if you go to the Extreme Rules return, we even saw the Fiend. Now not the actual Fiend, someone else playing the Fiend, but it was supposed to represent the Fiend. And that version of the Fiend had black dreadlocks. Now if you think about recently, we've seen Bray Wyatt wearing an Uncle Howdy mask that's black. And he said, if I told you a story, could you keep a secret? Is that secret the Fiend? Has this been the plan all along? Now on October the 21st, on an episode of SmackDown in 2022, Bray Wyatt delivered a very telling line when he said, I'm just a servant now, I go where the circle takes me. Now at this point I thought, this is definitely a multiple personality angle here, some psychological issues within Bray, but deep down he is aware that there's this darkness, this dark psyche. But for the moment, he's going to try to resist it. But inevitably, he knows that this dark side is going to win. And all roads are going to lead to Bray Wyatt reveling in who he is and embracing the darkness. So I believe even at this point, he was aware that all roads were going to lead to the Fiend's return at some point. But for the moment, he would resist. And gradually, he lost that battle. The dark side always wins, and we saw more fiendish mannerisms when he attacked the cameraman, delivered the mandible claw, the Fiend's finishing maneuver, the very fact that in certain promos Bray Wyatt's hair would be down. And think about the Royal Rumble of this year, we literally saw Bray Wyatt in a mask without being the actual Fiend. It was all but. Now, do I believe that was the Fiend? No, I do not believe for one single second that was the Fiend, but I think it was part of the story, and I think it was part of the journey to the complete turn to the dark side, i.e. potentially an evolution of the Fiend. Now, I truly believe that Bray's darkest psyche is Uncle Howdy, and Bray is Uncle Howdy. He even said it himself, I'm the Eater of Worlds, I am Uncle Howdy, I am him, potentially the Fiend. Now, why could or is Bray Wyatt Uncle Howdy? Well, think about this logically, right? He said it. There are silver grills that are clearly evident in promos that have been cut on the Titantron via Uncle Howdy, very similar to the ones that Bray Wyatt wears. The very fact that if you look at this image, this version of Uncle Howdy, he has dreadlocks. Of course, we know Bray has dreadlocks. And also as well, the fact that all of a sudden, the physical version of Uncle Howdy and Bray Wyatt kissed and made up after like a week prior. Uncle Howdy hit the Sister Abigail on Bray Wyatt, and then apparently all he needed was a little push. So what if he was using Bo Dallas to portray Uncle Howdy for Bray Wyatt to cover his lies? And it's even in the lyrics, lie for me brother, use me for cover. Let's also not ignore the fact that the first time we saw Uncle Howdy physically, well, actually the second time, because we did see another version on the ramp when Bray was trying to confuse LA Knight, but this version up on the screen, as he came down to the ring, he had some very fiendish mannerisms, and he was doing this full circle gesture. The way he put his top hat on the ring apron was very similar to the way the Fiend used to put his lantern on the apron too. The very fact also that we saw a leaked QR code with the Fiend's face, the Firefly Funhouse version of Bray, the fact that we've seen the Firefly Funhouse return when we thought it was dead and buried at Extreme Rules. And speaking of QR codes, let's not forget the QR code that was leaked and led us to view a psychological evaluation of Bray Wyatt as a patient, and it was very clear to see from that report that Bray Wyatt has a complete disregard for his actions and to a point maybe isn't in control psychologically. Now if you're not in control psychologically, there's going to be this blurred line between what is right, what is wrong, and you are going to lie. And talking of lies, we know that Bray Wyatt has lied an awful lot. And one segment that really stands out to me was when he first initially confronted LA Knight, and I believe this was the transition at this point to the dark side fully. I believe Bray tried to resist to that point, but at Crown Jewel, Uncle Howdy got through to him, and this is where it all started. And remember what he said: I've been for the longest time pretending that I'm not proud of the things I do, not the things I've done. I do. I don't know how true that is anymore with this laugh. And I thought that was very telling. That made me believe that, hang on a minute, he knows in order to get respect, he knows what needs to be done, i.e. return the Fiend, because in some ways the Fiend made Bray Wyatt's career. And the fact that he said in an interview with Ryan Satin the Fiend is dead made me believe the opposite, that the Fiend isn't dead. The Fiend never dies. The Fiend is no man. And he's not, if the Fiend is going to return, go out and say in an interview, yeah, the Fiend's coming back, is he? Think about it logically. He knows what it takes to get respect. And also, remember what he said later on down the line in his feud with LA Knight? I think we both know how this story ends. Now, we thought the story between LA Knight and Bray Wyatt had ended at the Royal Rumble. But what if that was just the start? We've seen recently the Bray Wyatt logo appear in a backstage segment with LA Knight before he confronted Rey Mysterio. So the story ending potentially could be the return of the Fiend and LA Knight involved within that. Because remember, he said that he'd open the door. Also, the fact that he says he doesn't watch his matches. We've seen him rewatching his matches. He said that he's not Uncle Howdy originally, felt guilty for it and mandible clawed that cameraman, and now he claims he's everything. So there's definitely been lies left, right and centre. So we can't believe him when he says the Fiend is dead. And of course, a more than obvious Fiend tease is of course Alexa Bliss. And since Crown Jewel, in time with where I believe Bray Wyatt started to fully embrace the dark side, we saw the Uncle Howdy teases, the Bray Wyatt logo appear, and of course Howdy tormenting Alexa Bliss. So much so, even to this point now, Alexa Bliss is vanished from our screens conveniently not that long before WrestleMania. Also, I think the lyrics to Bray Wyatt's theme are very telling. The theme song Shatter, performed by Code Orange, specifically the line, "Disappear without a trace while the whole world's laughing but it's only in me." Think about this logically, right? Bray Wyatt as of late has vanished without a trace and the whole world is laughing, specifically the dirt sheets, the Jim Cornettes of this world, making a mockery of Bray Wyatt's return. But what if Bray Wyatt is having the last laugh? Remember what Uncle Howdy said way back when? He'll make fools of us all if you let him. He lies. The world is built on lies. What if Bray Wyatt is planned this into the storyline? This has always been part of the plan for him to vanish. Alexa Bliss is gone. It all makes sense for this to set up to WrestleMania and the evolution of the Fiend. I also find the lyrics "Will your stain ever live to be" very telling, and I definitely feel there's some Fiend parallels here. The fact that Bray Wyatt, Wyndham Rotunda should we say, doesn't want the Fiend to leave behind a small mark. He wants the Fiend to be known as an unstoppable, unforgettable monster of an alter ego that fans will never forget. The fact that he even said, well, Howdy said, assuming this is Bray, he used to think that the prison inside his head was the only place where he could truly be free. But this time, he has full creative with The Fiend, under the guidance of Triple H and the current WWE creative team. And this time, he can showcase The Fiend the way he always wanted to. Also, on a little side note with the lyrics, remember the line, "Keep it written on your face, the little details matter," because at the Royal Rumble, we saw the number 6 in Roman numerals on Bray Wyatt's head. So was that a sign of 6 personalities, or potentially something even bigger with a faction angle? As of late, there have been many teases to The Fiend. I don't find it a coincidence that WWE's YouTube channel have been posting pretty much on a daily matches that The Fiend has had in the past. The very fact that the last time we saw the Firefly Funhouse, something big was teased. We saw, of course, eyes appear within the other side of the Funhouse, the same eyes that Alexa Bliss had when she had her dark side. The very fact that we saw the Jack in the Box, the same one that Alexa Bliss used to release The Fiend, and the very fact, of course, that Bray Wyatt had a secret. If I told you a story, could you keep a secret? Now, that's very similar to the first time we saw The Fiend revealed, when he said, "I've got a secret. Do you want to see my secret?" And that secret was The Fiend. And the fact that him vanishing off our screens from WWE at the moment makes sense, because I don't feel that The Fiend's return would have been as impactful if Bray Wyatt had been in a match and then suddenly you'd seen this attire change and then we saw The Fiend. I like the surprise element of not even knowing that he's going to be there at WrestleMania, and he shows up, and just imagine the pop, the roar of the crowd. It'll be unforgettable. So that's where I stand with it as a fan perspective. Again, get down in the comment section, share your thoughts and opinions, but I truly believe all roads lead to The Fiend's return at WrestleMania, an evolution of, I definitely think there'll be some changes, subtle changes to the presentation of The Fiend. I certainly feel that WWE will want to freshen things up. Wyndham Rotunda will. You've got to think merchandise, new fresh coat of paint maybe on the mask, maybe some subtle changes. We'll have to wait and see, and I truly believe that things will be booked the way they should have always been, and The Fiend will be used more sparingly as a special box office attraction, maybe used for the big events at the PLEs only, and that way it'll keep The Fiend fresh, it'll keep it exciting, and it gives us variety with the Eater of Worlds version of Bray, the Uncle Howdy shenanigans, and maybe even a faction angle on top of that as well. And of course, we can't forget about Alexa Bliss. As always, it'd be very much appreciated if you could like the video, share the video, and even better, subscribe if you're new. And we'll catch you in the next one.